From the land of 10,000 lakes and just as many heartaches, welcome to the 301 Show. We're here to celebrate, commiserate, and maybe, just maybe, see a Minnesota team win it all. Whether you're dreaming of a Vikings Super Bowl, reliving the glory days of the Twins, or still recovering from the Timberwolves roller coaster, we've got you covered. This is the 301 Show, where the North remembers and the passion never fades.
Yes, welcome into episode 46 of the 301 Show. Got a great show on tap today. Byron Buxton came out with a statement about the Twins and his future with the team. The Wolves continue to beat up on bad teams while losing to good teams. The Wild are on a heater right now and are back in the to being a bubble playoff team like I predicted at the beginning of the season. The Frost have started their preseason and will start their regular season later this week. The Vikings lose their first divisional game of the season to the Bears and will go travel to the state of Wisconsin to play the Green Bay Packers this upcoming week. All of that and more here on episode 46 of the 301 Show. Moving on here to the Wolves' Den. Again, we'll start with the Lynx and just say that they have no real new news this week. So we'll move immediately into the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are now 9-5 on the season. They are currently 6th in the Western Conference. They are tied for 8th in the entire league. Their points for per game is 120.6, which is 9th. Field goal percentage is 49.7%, which is 4th. 3-point percentage is 38.5%, which is tied for 4th in the NBA. Their free throw percentage is 77.9%, which is 20th. Rebounds per game is 43.6, which is 20th. Blocks per game is tied for 6th at 5.8. The turnover differential is right smack dab in the middle of the league. It is league average. It is 0.0, which is 15th. Points against per game is 114.4, which is tied for 9th. Their field goal against percentage is 45.2, which is 7th. The 3-point percentage against is 35.7%, which is tied for 14th. Rebounds against is 43.9, which is 15th in the league. And their blocks against per game is 4.4, which is 10th. They had 3 games since the last episode, and those 3 games were home against the Sacramento Kings, which they won 124 to 110. They lost to the Denver Nuggets 123 to 112 at home, which Jokic had 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 11 assists in that game. Then Aaron Gordon, I think Penny Hardaway Jr., and Jamal Murray all had 23 points. So they had 4 players with 23-plus points in that game. Randall and Ant both had 26 points each in that game. So again, just not enough to overcome those 4 guys. Then they played the Mavericks, which they blew out the Mavericks. All 5 starters had double-digit points. The Wolves won 120 to 96. Naz Reid was the leading scorer with 22 points on 9 of 14 shooting with 12 rebounds and 2 assists. So Naz Reid is coming back now. He's starting to play really, really well. But there's this underlying number that should scare a little bit of Wolves fans here. I think it will get better over the season, so don't fully panic on it, but it is something to take note of right now if it continues. And no, it's not the free throw percentage being awful. It's not um, them only being ranked 20th in rebounds. It's the record. They are 9-5. All 9 wins have come against teams that are currently below 500. All 5 losses are against teams that are currently above 500. They have not lost, which again, you should be beating up on the teams below 500. They are a good enough team to do that. That's what they should be doing. But they need to start winning some of these games against teams that are above 500. They aren't going to be a team that can actually go and compete for the Western Conference and an NBA championship. If this is how they're losing, if they're losing these types of games. I mean, every team that makes the playoffs is going to be an above 500 team. So you're going to get swept in the first round if this trend continues, and they absolutely need to change that. And yes, Ant was hurt for a week and a half, however long it was, but they just need to get more consistent with how they need to be more consistent with the teams that they are beating at this point, and they are gonna be gonna need to beat some of these better teams here. Luckily, though, they play the Wizards, the Suns, and the Kings coming up in their next 3 games, so there should be 3 more wins here. But again, I want to touch on Nas here momentarily. He has been playing a lot better as of late. And again, I just think a lot of fans were saying that you need to trade him and trade him for like a John Morant type. And I just think you need to have some patience with some of these guys. And you need to especially with what happened to Nas this offseason with his sister tragically getting shot. And I think you need these types of situations need time to work themselves out. And they will work themselves out eventually. And that's like the Cat trade last year and the Rudy trade a few years ago. Like they just needed time to get get into the swing of things, and they need time to settle back in or settle into in the first place or back into how they're known to be playing, and whether that's team chemistry or you go through this tragic loss and you just need to be able to just take that time. And I don't know if you anybody who didn't watch should go watch it. The 10K Takes interview I did with them. They were talking about Jack Bossman was talking about how he has a new appreciation for the chemistry in the NBA the last couple of years, and chemistry is a massive thing in the NBA on these teams. And yes, you need to have some patience with that, and you need to have that needs to take some time. So I do think that they are going to be turning a corner here with their record against teams above 500, and I think that they will get to be back to where they were in the last few years and have that success in the playoffs right now. And like I'm pretty sure I said this last week, or maybe I didn't. I forget exactly, but you last year you were in a out of the playoff spot and in a play-in spot, trying to battle to get to the 6th spot. You're in the 6th seed right now, and now you're trying to battle up to host a playoff series in the first round. And if you can do that and keep that battle going all season, and then get hot later in the year, you're gonna be better off than where you were last year. So I think this team is gonna be a team that plays better later in the year than they do at the beginning of the season. So, yeah. Speaking of predictions here, we had 3 come off the board. Said that um, Nas drops 30 plus in a game in the first month of the season. He did not. Ant outscores Jokic in a game on Saturday. In the game on Saturday, he did not. And then the Wolves win at least 2 of the next 3, which they did. So that one was correct. That brings it up to 33 out of 109, which is 30 correct percentage points. 3 coming on the board here will be that the Wolves win the next 3 games. So I think they're going to sweep the Wizards, Suns, and Kings. I think that's the bold prediction there. I think Ant drops 40 plus in at least 1 game before December 15th. And then Naz Reid is the highest scorer between both teams in a game before January 1st. Yeah, so moving on now to a Rinkside Rundown. The Wild, again, are getting back on track here to be that bubble team that I thought that they were going to be. They are currently 9-7-4 on the season for 22 points. They are 6th in the Central Division, 10th in the Western Conference. Their goals for per game are 2.75, which is 27th. Thanks to another Wallstat shutout, their goals against per game is 3.05, which is tied for 15th, right around the middle of the league. They are tied for first with the Pittsburgh Penguins in shutouts with 3. Their power play is operating at a 26.0%, which is 4th in the league. They've come down to earth from being the number 1 team and being at like a 48% or something like that on the power play at the beginning of the year. The penalty kill still continues to struggle for a second straight year here, at least the second straight year that I've been covering this team. They're at 71.7%. Face-off percentage is 48.2%, which is 23rd in the NHL. Shots per game is 28.6, which is 12th in the league. Shots against is 29.3, which is 24th. As for, again, we'll go over the Gus Bus rankings here. Again, Wally has not played enough games to qualify for some of these statistics. You got to play a minimum number of your percentage of your team's games, and he has not done that yet. So Gus is 5-7-2, which we will, real quick, we will have a discussion on Wally in just a moment here. But 5-7-2 is Gus Bus. The save percentage is 897%, which is 28th in the league. Goals against average is 22.9 or 2.99, excuse me. 2.99 goals against average. I hope it's not 22.9. 2.99 goals against average, which is 32nd. Shutouts, he has 1 shutout, which is tied for 2nd. In terms of Kirill Kaprizov, he has 20 games played. He is 11, has 11 goals, which is tied for 11th. He has 12 assists, which is tied for 33rd. He has 23 points, which is tied for 15th. He has 71 shots on the season, which is 8th in the entire NHL. So again, he is shooting, he is scoring here, which is absolutely fantastic to see out of your best player. Then they played 2 games from our last since our last podcast, last show. They were Saturday and Sunday. They beat the Anaheim Ducks 2-0. Peter Mrazek stopped 28 of 29 shots. Jesper Wallstedt stopped 28 of 28. Matt Boldy did have 2 goals and 1 goal, 1 assist on 5 shots. Marcus Johansson had 1 goal on 2 shots, and the Wild won 2-0. The Vegas Golden Knights came to town the next day. It was also a 5 p.m. game. The Wild won 3-2 in OT. Riley Smith and Pavel Dorodev score for the Golden Knights. Carl Lindborn stopped 25 of 28 shots for the Golden Knights. Joel Eriksson and Yakov Trenin scored, and Kirill ended up with the overtime game-winning goal on a very questionable phantom penalty on the Golden Knights. But Gus Bus, again, he played pretty well. He stopped 23 of 25 shots in that game. But again, with the goaltenders, we do have to have a discussion at this point. He's only played 6 games, but Wallstedt's numbers look absolutely fantastic this year. Again, it is still a small sample size. Gus has now played 14 games. Wally's only played 6. But Wally has not dropped a game in regulation this year. But I think some fans, and maybe this is just today's day and age, I think some fans are they need the instant gratification. They need guys to work out right away. And there's sometimes where you do need that. And when you give a guy a $17 million contract, you expect him to have, 11 goals in 20 games or even more. Like that's what Kirill needs to do. He needs to click right away. He absolutely needs to click right away. And yeah, he was playing great at the beginning of the year and then kind of died down and is kind of back a little bit. And we'll get into that a little bit more here. That's another discussion we'll get into. But with the instant gratification, I mean, that was very clear, very, very clear when people were ragging on Jesper Wallstedt last year and when he struggled in his couple of games up in the NHL. And I think he is proving so far right now that patience is absolutely necessary especially for goaltenders. And I just think that they have found something. It looks like they have found something in this kid, and he absolutely, at the very minimum from here on out, they need to do a 50-50 split at this point. And maybe you say we'll do a 50-50 split, but Gus Bus is still, to make him happy, he's still getting the tougher teams, the tougher challenge, but I don't know, something, they need to have a 50-50 split at this point. And Jesper Wallstedt he's played well enough at this point to deserve more playing time. You should reward Jesper Wallstedt with more playing time. And Gus is continuing to struggle a little bit here. And he just has again, having continued to struggle. Maybe you go with the hot goaltender at this point. If you actually want to continue winning games, you need to put a lineup out that is going to prove that you are actually trying to win. And that's if that's the case too, if you're trying to win, I think Matt Boldy needs to be back with Kirill. And yes, there is the argument too that to be made that he, Kirill loves playing with Matt Zuccarello and Ryan Hartman has centered that line a couple times this season and has centered that line in the past before too. But I think with how good that they were going early in the year, I think Matt Boldy and I think the top line needs to be Boldy, Kirill, and either Rossi or Eriksson Ek, and probably Rossi at this point. But I think those two together were so good together. And we saw it in the playoffs last year too. Like those two were the reason that series even went 6 games. Like they lost, but they were the reason they even won 2 of those games in the playoffs last year, was because of Boldy and Kaprizov on the offensive side. Gus Plus played well in net too, but you didn't have any offense and outside of those two, and I just don't see. I don't understand why John Hines isn't playing those two together this year more, and having those two um, rely on each other. And I think, um, yeah, it doesn't make sense to me why those two aren't getting more ice time together on the ice. We'll see if that changes this week here. They've got 3 games um, coming up. They got a home game again tonight as I am recording this on Wednesday the 19th. It is 8:30 tonight. It is a nationally televised game, so it is a later start time tonight. They then play against the Pittsburgh Penguins on Friday at 6 p.m. It is Friday the 21st. They then play at 3 p.m. on Sunday the 23rd at Winnipeg against the Jets. And I'm really hoping that the they go 50-50 in net and they make some lineup changes here. And a team that does go basically 50-50 in net because they trust both of their goaltenders. They see that both goaltenders are playing well and they are willing to put both of them in is the Frost. And the Frost did play 2 preseason games, won 5-2 and they lost 6-2 in New York against the Sirens. Those are the 2 preseason games that they played. But they now are hosting the home opener on Friday at 6 p.m. That is the 21st. They are hosting the Toronto Scepters at home on Friday. So again, the Frost the last couple of years have trusted Nicole Hensley and Maddie Rooney in net, and they have looked at it and they're like, those two are playing well. We can switch off or one of them does get hot and we'll play them more, and then the other one, then they start to struggle and the other one gets hot and they play that person, that goaltender more. And I do think that that's a great strategy if you have 2 goaltenders, and yes, it also helps that they've got a great team in front of them. We'll see if they can do it for the entire season, because it seems like they get off to a hot start every year and then they struggle and they're stumbling at the end of the regular season, but then obviously figure it out in the playoffs. But that's obviously the most important time to figure it out is during the playoffs. But I want to see something where they just dominate the entire season, including the playoffs, and just there's no question of who the best team in the PWHL is, and hopefully that starts on Friday against the Scepters here. But yeah, I have a couple of predictions coming off the board here. Couple of should have come off the board earlier, but I have 5 predictions coming off the board. And this is, I think, the single best week I have had, in maybe not in terms of number of correct predictions, but in terms of percentage and it being more than just like 2 predictions. This is the best week that I have had for a singular segment on this show. I had 5 predictions come off the board. All 5 of them ended up being correct. Said Philip Gustafsson records a shutout before Jesper Wallstedt plays in the game in the NHL this season. That should have come off the board after game 1 of the NHL season, because Gus Bus recorded a shutout in the first game of the season. I said Jesper Wallstedt records a shutout in the 2025-26 regular season. He's now recorded 2. That one also should have come off the board a few weeks ago. I said the Frost win at least 1 in New York in the 2 preseason games. They did win 1, so that one is also correct. Said the Wild get 4 points in the next 3 games. They ended up getting 5 points in those 3. They got 4 points in the next 2 games, so this one is technically still going. But against Carolina tonight will be the 3rd game, but it doesn't matter if they win or lose that game. So they got 4 points in the next 2 games from when I made this prediction. Then the final prediction is that came off the board here is that the Wallstedt will get the next Wild shutout, and he did. So that brings it up to 32 total correct out of 89 total predicted, and shoots the percentage up from 32% to 36%. 3 predictions coming on the board here. I said that the Frost will beat Toronto in the home opener, so the Frost start off 1-0, and then the Wild get at least 3 points in the next 3 games. So again, could be overtime loss in every game, could be a win, and an overtime loss, but it doesn't matter exactly how. They will get at least 3 points in the next 3 games. And then final prediction is that Jesper Wallstedt will get another shutout before the start of the new year, before January 1st. All right, now moving on to the Nordic Report. The Vikings lose to the Chicago Bears 19-17. They fall to 4-6 on the season, 2-1 in the division. They are 11th in the NFC, the 11th seed in the NFC. They are 4th in the NFC North. Their offense is averaging 96.4 yards per game, which is 27th, 296.4 yards per game, 27th in the league. Points per game is 21.8. That is 22nd. That includes a couple of defensive touchdowns. The third down, they are sitting at 38 of 21 for 31.4%, which is 31st in the league. On fourth down, they've gone for it 14 times. They're 8 of 14. They are 57.1%. Excuse me. That is 13th in the NFL. Defense is 317.5 yards per game, which is tied for 10th fewest. Points per game is 23.2. That is tied for 16th. On third down, they are 87 out of 160 or 136, which is 64%. That is 9th. On fourth down, they are 3 of 11, which is 27.3%, which is tied for 30th. On special teams, Will Reichert, it was perfect again. He was 19 of 21. That is tied for 7th. His long is still the 62-yarder against the Bengals. That was good for 4th in the NFL. The PATs, he is 19 for 19, which again is still tied for 1st at 100%. But the loss to the Bears, 19-17, as I said, McCarthy wasn't good. McCarthy was actually, I think that was one of, if not the worst games he has played in a Vikings uniform of the 5 games he has played. And he is 16 of 32. That is 150 passing yards, which, again, was probably worse than that when they, before that last drive. That is 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions. Again, would have had 0 touchdowns had he not had that last drive. That his quarterback rating is 22. His passer rating is 47.7. Again, both of those things probably a lot worse than if they didn't have that last drive, which was set up fantastically by Miles Price on the punt return. Which Miles Price, again, had 4 kick returns for 93 yards. He had 3 punt returns for 79 yards. So very good day returning for him. And Jones had 16 carries for 70 yards. Mason had 6 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson went 5 receptions for 61 yards. TJ Hawkinson, 3 receptions for 39 yards. He dropped a couple that he usually catches. It was not a good day for TJ Hawkinson. Jordan Addison had 2 receptions for 20 yards and the receiving touchdown in that last drive that at the time gave them the lead. Again, Will Reichert went 1 for 1 on field goals, 2 for 2 on extra points. So again, the big story of that game is the offense was just awful. I thought the defense was pretty good. Don't think they were great. Don't think that was the best game that they played. They did let up throughout the game. They let up 2 different 3rd and 13s that the Bears did get first downs on both of those. And it's like, if you just stop those 2 3rd and 13s, I think they both led to field goals. So you stop those 2 3rd and 13s, you probably win the game or have at least a lot better of a chance to win the game there. So those are the 2 big things. I did think too that Caleb Williams did what he did in week 1 against the Vikings and was able to just keep slipping out of tackles. And I thought that was the best part of Caleb Williams' game too. I think both teams looked like they wanted to lose that game. But yeah, it was not really that good of a game to watch overall. Horrible game on offense. And again, outside of Will Reichert, I don't think, and a good day out of Miles Price, I don't think anyone had like that outstanding of a day individually. And I think the big discussion point here is how bad McCarthy was. Like he was a second late or wildly inaccurate. That's the text I got from my brother was saying he was a second late or wildly inaccurate on basically every throw and until that last drive, which is true. Like he is, and at this point in the season, you're 4-6, you're last in the NFC North, you're 11th in the NFC. This is a get McCarthy reps rest of the season at this point. Like I think it was after they got back from Europe and they were 3-2. I think with how tough the schedule was, you needed to be 4-1 or 5-0 after Europe. But I just think that this is a lost season at this point, and I don't think that they are going to be going anywhere in January other than Cancun at this point. But I do want to go back to the McCarthy discussion again. First of all, like I've said the last couple of weeks, you need to have patience. It's like Jesper Wallstedt. You need to have patience with him. But you need to have some patience with him right now. Like he's played like 5 games. He's played 5 games so far, and you need to have a little bit of patience with JJ McCarthy right now. But I do have this on my phone here. I do have a blind player resume, which blind player resume comparison is a thing that sports fans use to hey, this is player A, this is player A's stats, this is player B's stats, and this I have one for 2 quarterbacks. One of them is JJ McCarthy. I'll just give you that now. And I want you to compare him to this quarterback, this mystery quarterback B, and just see which one you would rather take through the first. And again, it's just comparing their first 5 NFL games, their first 5 starts. So JJ McCarthy through 5 games has 842 passing yards. Quarterback B has 1,117. JJ McCarthy has 6 touchdowns. Mystery quarterback has 4 touchdowns. JJ McCarthy has 8 interceptions. Mystery quarterback has 9 interceptions. So McCarthy has a 3 to 4 touchdown to interception ratio. The mystery quarterback has a 4 to 9 touchdown to interception ratio. The completion percentage is JJ McCarthy has 52.9% completion. to mystery quarterbacks, 57.3% completion. So he's completed, little under 5% more. He's way more. He has 250, basically 250 more yards, and he has, McCarthy has a better touchdown or interception to touchdown ratio, and the mystery quarterback has more yards and better completion percentage. And that mystery quarterback, again, type down in the comments. Let me know which one you would take, J.J. McCarthy or the mystery quarterback, because they're close at this point. In my mind, they're close, but the mystery quarterback is Zach Wilson through his first 5 starts. That's awful. Zach Wilson's a backup right now, a third stringer right now at this point in his career. And I'm pretty sure he is the third stringer down in Miami. I think Quinn Ewers is getting the backup spots to Tua Tagovailoa over Zach Wilson. At least he has a couple times this year. So that is just not a good place for McCarthy to be in right now. And I'm still saying, give him time, give him at least the end of this year, and we can reevaluate. And I'm hoping they give him at least next season. But if he still sucks next season, like is performing this poorly next season, the Vikings have every right to move on from him at that point, I think, and it would suck to move on from him, especially after you traded up for McCarthy and you spent that capital on him, and I just but I wouldn't blame the Vikings if they moved on from him if he was still performing this badly a year from now, this poorly a year from now, and I just this team again is not going anywhere to me. He this season at least. They flat out on paper they're good enough, but they are not performing well enough to even compete for a playoff spot. The couple other teams, the Timberwolves and the Wild, I think are good enough to compete for a playoff spot this year. I think the Wolves are good enough to go further. But this team to me is not even close to a playoff team right now. And they're again now having to go on the road to Lambeau. I think they're going to be I think they're probably going to be in a 3-game hole at this point. Because I don't have any confidence in this team anymore. So we will get into this looking ahead at the Packer game. The Vikings are traveling to Green Bay. They will play at Lambeau at noon on Sunday. The Packers are 6.5-point favorites, basically a touchdown favorite. The over-under is set at 41.5. And the Vikings are silver lining here is that the Vikings are 3-2 on the road. 2 of those games were in Europe. They did go 1-1 in Europe. So in a true away game, they are 2-1 on the season. The Packers are also 3-2 at home, so they are above 500 at home, although they have lost their last 2 home games to Philadelphia and Carolina. The Vikings all-time record against the Packers is 59, 65, and 3. And below 500, but on the bright side, in the last 20 games over the last 10 years of this in-division rivalry, the Vikings are 11-8-1 in those games. So they are 3 games above 500 against the Packers in their last 20 games. Slight good news here. Ian Rappaport has reported that Josh Jacobs is considered day-to-day, but could very well miss the game. So that is something to watch out for, is the Packers running back is considered day-to-day. As for the Um, Predictions. Again, I don't know how this is going to go for the Packers game. Yeah. So as for predictions, we've got 3 predictions coming on the board here. Coming off the board here. We had 3 predictions come off the board. I said the Vikings and Bears would go over 48.5. They did not. Not even really close. Said the Bears cover the 2.5 point spread. They did. And JJ throws 2 or more interceptions, which they had 2 interceptions. So that brings it up to 39 out of 103, which is 38%. My 3 predictions coming on the board here. I said the Packers will cover the 6.5 point spread. So they will win by 6.5 or more points, which is basically a touchdown or more. They'll win by a touchdown or more points in this game. I said the Packers defense will have multiple interceptions in this game. So I'm not going to say that it has to be McCarthy throwing an injury or they're down just so much. I think that the Packers defense has multiple interceptions in this game. And then final prediction is that Justin Jefferson will finally find the end zone again, and he will score a touchdown against the Packers. Yes, welcome into the final team segment here of the episode, Target Field Talkers. We'll start with the first report that came out basically right after we recorded and uploaded last week's episode. Byron Buxton, this is according to Dan Hayes of The Athletic. Buxton is now willing to move his no trade clause, which he at the trade deadline he was in All-Star game. He was asked about and said he was unwilling to move at the time, but his stance has softened a little bit. He says that he wants to play for a contender and like a contending team. And he says that he would reconsider his stance on the no trade clause if the teardown continues. So a couple of things off of that. One, he has not officially said he was going to move that his no trade clause is still intact. That has not changed. He just said that he is willing to do it if the Twins continue to sell their players. And that's the other thing is I think those 2 players that he is talking about are Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan. And at this point, I don't think that there's going to be a way where they keep all 3 or keep 2 or 1 of those guys and not the other ones. I think it is a all keep or all go. Maybe not to the same teams, all go to the same teams, but they are either all going to be on the Twins next year or none of them are going to be on the Twins next year. And I think at this point, the Pohlads would probably go out and trade Pablo Lopez because he, over the next 2 years, has like $43 million in salary. And again, there is no salary cap in the MLB, which we might be actually getting soon, but there's no salary cap in the MLB. But there is the Pohlads just don't want to spend as much money on player salary at this point, and a 43 or whatever, 47, whatever the number actually is, $1 million for Pablo over the next 2 years is a massive number to get off the books if you're the Pohlads, and they. I think would be looking at him to, or not would be, I think they are looking at him to move first of this current roster right now. And I think that they are going to, with that, if they do move him, I think Buxton, sees some of the writing on the wall And if they trade Joe, I think might trade Joe Ryan too, not because he's expensive, but because I think you'd get the most back for him at this point. I think he has the highest trade value of anyone on this team, because he is cheap and he is under team control for a few more years, and he is a fantastic pitcher. He doesn't hit free agency until I believe it's 2028, the 2028 offseason. And so you can lock him down and have him under team control for the next 2 years. And I think if those two go, Buxton especially sees the writing on the wall that this team just isn't really going. And I don't think even with those guys, they're not going to do much in this upcoming season, because I don't think the Poleads are going to add, which we'll get to that in a moment here. But especially if they move both of them, I think Buxton will see the writing on the wall, and I think he will formally request a trade. And I think too, like he's going to, I think he's going to see, like he will be able to veto trades to like the Rockies or the White Sox or the Athletics or the Angels, like any of those terrible teams like that. I think he'll still veto a trade. I think he is most likely going to go to the Atlanta Braves. I think that is his most likely team that he is going to go play for next season, because I think he is. They need some outfield help and they need a bat, and he provides both of those for the Braves, and also he grew up like 2 hours outside of Atlanta, and that's why going to the All-Star game for him this last year was so important, because the All-Star game was in Atlanta, and so I think him going back to Atlanta makes a lot of sense. Now I think, unfortunately for baseball fans, hearing this might be tough, but I think him going to the Dodgers makes a lot of sense too. And unfortunately, they have the cap to do that, or the salary payroll to do that at this point. And I just think that they are going to look at him and say he is a massive piece of us going out and trying to win a third straight championship, and trying to be the first team since the 90s Yankees to do that. And I think at this point, I think the Braves are the most likely, and the Dodgers are the second most likely team to go out if he moves, if he goes anywhere. I think those are the two most likely teams to go get him. But the other piece of news that came out that relates to this is Derek Falvey. He's the president of baseball operations. He's also the president of business operations. He's the head of both the baseball side and the business side. He is one of the most powerful men in the sport of baseball at this point. Usually teams have like dueling presidents. They're like co-presidents, one to run the baseball side, one to run the business side, and they're set. Like that's what the Timberwolves did with the Florida again, I'm forgetting his name now, but the Florida Panthers CEO that came in, and then Tim Conley running the basketball side. And usually they work in separate but still in tandem. And Derek Falvey is the guy that runs both sides at this point. So again, very, very powerful guy. So he said that he wants to add to the budget, but he at this point doesn't know what the budget is. And maybe there's going to be a report that comes out before I'm done recording this episode that says he will, or says they do. But he doesn't know what the budget is as of now. And his quote was that he is going to add to the team unless he is told otherwise. So there's a lot to unpack from that those statements there and those reports. One, I think he had been told otherwise. He has been told there's a possibility that he has been told that they're going to subtract from the team, but he is trying to separate himself from the Poleads at this point, and whoever the minority owners are. which we can get into some discussion on the minority owners at this point, or in a little bit. But I think Falvey's trying to like also sees the writing on the wall and might be trying to set himself up for another job in the future, and he might be saying, "Hey, I'm trying to add, but the owners aren't going to let me," basically, and that's basically what that statement tells me, because he's not confirming or denying that that's what the poll ads want. He's saying this is what I want. I want to add. I want to make this a contending team. I want to bring in pieces that cost money, but the poll ads don't want to add money to this team right now. And so that's essentially what he is saying at this point. And I think that he is basically right at this point. I think he's having to bend the knee to the owners and having to bend the knee to the guys that pay his salary at this point and sign his paychecks, and they're, I think, just trying to sell this team at this point. Like, I think they brought on the minority investors, the minority owners to pay off the debt so that they can get more money in a year or two from now, and they don't actually care about this team, which I think has been made clear over the last couple years. But Derek Falvey has basically said, I this is my plan, this is the poll ads plan, and the poll ads are going to win out because, again, they are the owners, and they want more control over this team than they have right now, and they want their plan wins out because they are in control. So that's his statement, was he is going to add unless told otherwise. But yeah, the minority investors, it is very weird with the minority investors right now, because we still don't know who they are. They pulled the team off the market in, I believe it was in early August at this point, and that's now like 4 months ago. And we had a whole discussion on this show about it, and the investors have still not been made known at this point. You don't know who those investors, those minority owners are, and all you know about them is it is a local group, and and the other group is, there's two groups. One is a local group, and then one is an eastern group, and you don't know anything else. And there's some people speculating too that it's like a Joe Mauer or a Justin Morneau or a Corey Koski or something, somewhat like, people along those lines. But I don't think it is at this point. I think it's people that actually have more business experience and more experience getting a return on some sort of investment. So if they were able to put in a bunch of money to help them pay off the debt, then they're probably going to get more when they sell the team, and so their return on investment is going to be greater than with that. So I just don't think the minority investors even care about adding to this team yet. But again, it's so weird to me that you don't know, 4 months later, you don't know who the minority investors, minority owners actually are at this point. And there's I don't know what exactly is the reasoning for that, but there's something shady going on with those groups. But I tell you what isn't shady is when you're actually transparent about your shortcomings, and that's what we are on this show. When we make predictions, we actually record them and keep track of them. So we have one prediction coming off the board here. I said that Torrey Hunter will be a coach or manager for the Twins, which they, again, we can go over that next week. They did announce their coaching staff, and Torrey Hunter is not one of those players. Again, if he somehow becomes a coach of the team, or that like interim manager, Shelton doesn't even last a full year here, we will go over that, or we'll revise that next when that happens. But for right now, I'm counting this as incorrect. That brings the totals to 30 correct out of 99 predicted for 31%. 3 coming on the board here. I said that Buxton, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Buxton will be traded to the Dodgers or Braves this upcoming, or he will be traded to one of those two teams. I said that Buxton, Ryan, and Lopez will all be traded this offseason. Both of those are for this upcoming or current offseason. And then the final one is that Royce will hit 20 plus home runs in 2026. All right, moving on to our final segment of the show, the Power Rankings segment. If you are new here, the Power Rankings segment is something we do at the end of every single episode of the 301 show, where I take a topic in Minnesota sports and rank them, rank whatever that topic is in order, or what the top 10 would be in that topic. We've done some of the past ones that we have done are the top 10, the best duos in Minnesota sports history, the numbers that should be retired but aren't, the top 10 best coaches in Minnesota sports history, and the best athletes that were born in Minnesota, just to name a few of those. If you have an idea for what topic I should rank next, please leave them down in the comment section down below. Also, you can email the show frozennorth30@gmail.com with any topic ideas as well. For this topic, for this power rankings list, we have the best one-year wonders in Minnesota sports history, and for this one, I did one-year wonders, where it's basically the best year of their career. I am not including like a Brett Favre in this because he was a Hall of Famer before he came to the Vikings, had one good year in 2009. I'm basically saying if they were here for 1 year, it was the best year that they had in their career. If they were here for multiple years, it was one of those years was the best that they had in their career, basically, is how I defined 1 year wonder. So at number 10 here, I have 2006 Nick Punto. Again, a little bit tough to compare cross sports here, but 2006 Nick Punto comes in at number 10. He played 135 games, had 133 hits. He hit 290 with a 352 on base percentage and a 373 slugging percentage. He had 21 doubles, 7 triples, 1 home run, 45 RBIs, 17 stolen bases, 47 walks, and 3.8 wins above replacement. Number 9 is 2010-2011 Darko Milicic. He comes in at the number 9 spot on this list. Played 69 games, averaged 8.8 points per game, had 1.5 assists per game, 0.8 steals per game, and 2 blocks per game. Again, defensive sided more than offense on for Milicic in that year. But yeah, on moving on here, we go back to the diamond. A little bit more recent here, 2014, Danny Santana comes in at number 8. Danny Santana played 101 games. He had 129 hits. He hit 319 with a 353 on base percentage, 472 slugging. He had 27 doubles, 7 triples, 7 home runs, 40 RBI, 20 stolen bases, 19 walks, and a 3.8 WAR. Number 7, going all the way back to the 90s here, 1997, Ron Coomer comes in here at number 7 on this list. Ron Coomer played in 140 games. He had 156 hits, 298 Batting average, 324 on base, 438 slugging. He had 30 doubles, 2 triples, 13 home runs, 103 RBIs. He had 4 stolen bases, 22 walks, and a 1.7 wins above replacement. Number 6, we're sticking with the Twins here. A lot of Twins. I feel like the Twins lend themselves better to these one-year wonders than the other teams do. But number 6 is Jason Kubel. Kubel comes in, the 2009 season from him comes in at number 6. In that season, Jason Kubel had 146 games played, 154 hits, a 300 average, 369 on base percentage, and then a 539 slugging. He had 35 doubles, 2 triples, 28 home runs, 103 RBIs, 1 stolen base, 56 walks, and a 3.5 WAR. I'll pull up the top 5 list here. And yeah, as I do that, I want to ask you to like and subscribe this video. Like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want more shows like this. Number 5 here is 2002 Michael Bennett. He played in 16 games for the Vikings. He had 1,296 rushing yards. He had 5 rushing touchdowns, 37 receptions for 351 receiving yards, and he had 1 receiving touchdown. Chester Taylor comes in here at number 4, the 2006 version of Chester Taylor. He comes in at number 4. He had 15 games played, 1,216 yards, 6 touchdowns, 42 receptions for 288 yards. Again, yeah, he comes in here at number 4. Number 3 is going back to the old school North Stars, 1989-90, Brian Bellows. He had 80 games played, 55 goals, 44 assists for 99 points, and he had, of his 55 goals, 9 of them were game-winning goals. Number 2, again, like I mentioned earlier, not bringing up a Brett Favre here, but a guy that played with Brett Favre in the 2009 season, benefited from having him as a quarterback, Sidney Rice. Sidney Rice, again, played 16 games, had 83 receptions, 1,300 receiving yards. He had 8 touchdowns and only fumbled once. But the number 1 one-year wonder, and is basically the reason I wanted to rank this list, is Case Keenum. Case Keenum is the biggest one-year wonder in Minnesota sports history. He comes in with 15 games played. He had a 67.6% completion percentage. He had 3,547 yards, 22 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. His passer rating was 98.3. His QBR was 73.3. He was also second in comeback player of the year that season, leading the Vikings to the NFC Championship game. So my list here for best one-year wonders in Minnesota sports history is number 10, 2006 Nick Punto. Number 9, 2010-2011 Darko Milicic. Number 8 is 2014 Danny Santana. Number 7 is 1997 Ron Coomer. Number 6 is 2009 Jason Kubel. Number 5, 2002 Michael Bennett. Number 4, 2006 Chester Taylor. Number 3, 1998-90 Brian Bellows. Number 2, 2009 Sidney Rice. And number 1 is 2017 Case Keenum. Yeah, thank you for watching episode 46 of the 301 show. Please like the video. It lets YouTube know it's good and pushes it out to more people, and we can keep growing this this community. Subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this or interviews that I do on the 301 Banter series. Leave a comment down below of where you agree or disagree with me. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my rankings. You can also email the show with any questions, comments, or concern. The email is down in the description. Is also scrolling on the bottom of the screen, or right now it is frozennorth30@gmail.com. That is all for today's episode 46. Again, I want to thank you for watching one more time, and we will see you next time for episode 47. Peace.